Now, I think this is what I was trying to say when I was going into that topic rundown immediately, and it's that I promise you, faithful listeners, that I am not trying to structure my episode releases around when Sakurai decides to do another character presentation, because I have noticed, I swear most of my episodes come out right around then, or at least I've incorporated the topic of so-and-so has been revealed for Smash Brothers. I just want to cover all of these. In fact, I would imagine that either sometime soon or when all of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate presentations are finished, there's only 2 more after this, that there's going to be a playlist of all Smash-related segments on the Creative Outlet podcast, so take a look out for that. But I guess I would rather start by thinking of this as a bit of a 2-for-1 topic as well, because just like with the direct drought topic that I did in episode 7, Pyra and Mythra were revealed in the newest full-length Nintendo Direct, just like how there was a Mario Direct right around when I wanted to talk about the Direct drought. And so I guess I want to open this first before talking about the characters themselves by giving some, like, what were my highlights in the Direct. I really don't want to cover the whole thing because there's a lot. Honestly, for as kind of like I was talking about in the Direct drought segment, while people are looking for these super mind-blowing moments in every Direct, I generally find that they're all about a similar quality, which is a couple of mind-blowing moments, but otherwise I could skip the rest, and that's kind of how this one was too. But I guess when I was writing it out, I really didn't realize how many great things there were, in my opinion, in the whole Direct. So let's talk about like some tiny things that were in it. There was an expansion pass announced for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I really haven't talked about the game, but that's because, A, I don't own the game, and really I don't intend on owning a game. We can talk about my opinions on Zelda and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild specifically in one of those themed episodes for the fall, actually, because this is the Legend of Zelda 35th anniversary. But we'll talk about that then. Okay, another one of those tiny things that I wanted to touch on. So there's a game that was revealed. It was teased with a certain scale. Looks like a certain scale of justice. And I tell you, my hype went suddenly like, oh, is this what I think it is? Are we looking at Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney 7? And then, bam! They had to go and ruin it, because it turns out it's Project Triangle Strategy, which, to be clear, I know I'm not the only person who loves Ace Attorney who was getting super excited during that moment, who felt kind of, how would I put it, that got bamboozled. But I'm sure Project Triangle Strategy is going to be a great game, and I'm glad to see Square Enix continuing on this. Apparently, they're calling it the HD 2D style of game. I haven't really played it because, kind of like I talked about in the last episode, I'm not a super duper huge RPG person. They're great and all, but I'm not. I don't really intend on getting Project Triangle Strategy, which hopefully has a better name in the end. Other than that, that was a moment that stuck out to me, because man, was I excited, and man, did I end up being disappointed. We also finally got more details on the Animal Crossing New Horizons Super Mario crossover stuff. And I've been playing around with it so far. I mean, it's mostly just, hey, order some furniture and some clothes. Although the really, honestly, the genius addition in this update are the warp pipes. And I guarantee you I will be setting up at least 5 warp pipes around my island as fast travel, even though I know that once you set up more than 2, it randomly picks one for you to go. I just like the fast travel using a pipe rather than, actually having to run around. But that's just me. otherwise, I mean, it's really not anything that's like super duper amazingly different for Animal Crossing. It's just some Mario stuff in the game. There's a segment that I missed, and then I just haven't been really able to go back at it that I actually want to check out, which is the World's End Club portion. It's a game that I'm curious about because it sounds like it's by the same, or like by at least the same company that did the Zero Escape series, and that's a series that I've wanted to try, since it's a visual novel, not exactly in the vein of Ace Attorney, but just it's another visual novel series that I wanted to try out, and it sounds like there's going to be some elements of that in there. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm talking about something that I know nothing about, but let's just say, for something that I know nothing about, I still have my interest piqued, which should be a good thing, but we'll see how that turns out in practice. So that's all the tiny itty-bitty-bitty things, but now I want to go into like the big, mind-blowing moments from that direct. And I'm going to start by getting the controversial take out of the way. I am cautiously pessimistic about Splatoon 3. So, if you haven't watched it, which why are you listening to me talk about this if you've not watched this Nintendo Direct, the final reveal in it was the announcement of Splatoon 3. And there is genuinely one thing that would have had to change about this announcement for me to be equally as mind-blown as everyone else. And that is if it were not coming to Switch. So, I mean, I guess this is kind of just a factor or an element of being spoiled with first-party Nintendo games, but generally speaking, each series, or at least each major series, gets one entry on each piece of hardware. I mean, with some exceptions, there's more than one mainline Mario game on a lot of systems. There's more than one mainline Zelda game on systems. I mean, the Wii sticks out. It had The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess and The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. It had Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2. Okay? So it's not unheard of for a game in the same series to have two installments. Splatoon is a slightly different case. Now, I mean, yeah, it's only had one entry on the Wii U, and currently one, now soon to be two entries on Switch. But the difference between something like Splatoon and something like Zelda is that in Zelda, you're getting a completely new and unique adventure. In Splatoon is an online shooter, so unless they go completely in a 100% different direction, the experience you have playing Splatoon 2 is going to be pretty similar to the experience you have playing Splatoon 3. It's the same reason why you haven't seen two Mario Karts on the same console, because, what's the point? What will be the point of playing Mario Kart DS when there's just Mario Kart DS 2 on the same system? That could be better in every single way. And, I'll readily admit, part of my cautious pessimism about Splatoon 3 is because, I think I've made it pretty clear, especially when talking in past segments, like why do I collect a certain segment of games, which is I care about the legacy of what these games are going to have. So, I can feel fine getting Splatoon 2 back in 2017 when I already have Splatoon 1 on the Wii U, because Splatoon 2 is only on Switch. Splatoon 1 has its own separate legacy to Splatoon 2, because without Splatoon 2, you wouldn't be able to play that series on Switch. Does that make sense? I don't know if it's super clear, if it seems super well thought out, but suffice it to say, I'm excited for Splatoon 3 in the sense that, of course it's exciting to get another game in the series, but I really want the team to prove my pessimism about it wrong. I want them to show that, yes, there is a good reason for there to be two Splatoon games on the same console. and I am confident that they can prove me wrong. But we'll just have to see what happens. There were already some kind of rumblings, like based on what I saw, that piqued my curiosity. That maybe this will be different enough. Specifically, like they start by jetpacking onto the stage. Like if there's a unique mode in it, or if they like make this about airborne turf wars or something, to me that would be a sufficiently different reason to own Splatoon 3 over Splatoon 2, because I could still go back to Splatoon 2 and have the experience of playing like on land turf wars. I'm sure they're not going to do that, but I would like to see something that's big and different like that justifies Splatoon 3 as a separate and important entry from Splatoon 2. Or, no, the other way around. I would like to see something that makes sure that if I were someone 10 years in the future right now, that I would feel justified in purchasing both Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3. But we'll see what happens. I'm confident they can do it, but I have to take my enjoying Nintendo games goggles off sometimes and really ask myself, like, well, is this really a good thing to be happening right now? And Splatoon 3, I think, is a perfect case of that. We're also finally getting another Zelda game that I'm willing to get. Again, Zelda opinions will be reserved for the Zelda themed podcast this coming fall. But I'm going to be talking a little bit about Skyward Sword HD. Now, I have The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword on the Wii, but I've hardly played it. And that comes down to, again, I'm pretty sure I talked about this a bit in episode 1, I have a horrible track record with finishing console games because I just don't sit down to play games on a console. I much prefer playing video games in handheld format or in a mixture, which is what's great about the Switch. I think I could actually pick up and finish The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword with the HD version on Switch. Because, what are the Zelda games that I have finished, or have come really close to finishing so far, are The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D on the 3DS. Am I about halfway, or am I only about a quarter of the way? I want to say... Now, I'm about halfway done with Majora's Mask 3D. Of course, no, I can't find my 3DS anywhere, so I can't really make any good progress in it. And I am just about finished with A Link Between Worlds on the 3DS as well. Those are all games that I've come close to finishing. As far as console Zelda titles, there's not a single one that I've come close to finishing, whether it's Wind Waker HD, I haven't even started Twilight Princess HD, I've barely scratched the surface of Skyward Sword, which is the focus of why I would be willing to pick up the HD version here. I also like that they're not going to require me to use the motion controls. Like, I'm sure the experience I had with the motion controls in the Wii version are perfectly fine, but again, I haven't played it enough to really give a good enough opinion on those, and I don't really want to sit down and play it on the Wii at the moment. So that's Skyward Sword. There was an announcement. This is the very rare, like a twice in a lifetime moment, I would say. They announced the rare independent game sensation, or like global gaming sensation, that I might pick up. I'm actually really interested in picking up Fall Guys on Switch. Shocking, as someone who would not get into the hype of games like Minecraft back in the day, or Call of Duty, that I'm like, yeah, maybe this thing that bazillions of people are playing, I would want to pick up. And, this is just because, hey, it's in the genre I like the most. Platformers. It's a 3D platformer. It's kind of a party game, too. And I know that Lex, who was my guest on the first Creative Outlet bonus, unintentional Creative Outlet bonus, but still a pleasant thing to have around. She has it on the PC, and she hasn't played it a ton, but she wanted me to try it out, and, the little bit I played, I enjoyed, so I would be willing to pick it up again on Switch, or pick it up for myself, I should say, on Switch. There's a game that was revealed that was interesting to me, with an absolutely horrible reveal, and the other reason I can't believe, actually, that I'm interested in this game is because it's an EA game, and that was Knockout City. Now, this is actually a segment that I also had to skip over, kind of like World's End Club, just because, the Direct only had to air during a class and right before I had to go to work, so I had to basically catch up on it at double speed to see what I wanted to see and skip over what I didn't really care about at the moment. But it seems like it's like a dodgeball type game. That's always a game that I've wanted to have, as like it's like a first-person shooter sort of game. It's a dodgeball game, and it looks like it could be fun. But it just had an absolutely horrible reveal with all of these different stereotypes of like what a gamer is. Like, I'm the girly princess gamer. I'm the grr hardcore RPG gamer. The soldier. It was just a weird, strange trailer, but it looks fun. Like the actual like little teeny bits of gameplay I've seen, it looks like it could be fun. Something that came almost out of nowhere, but I'm very interested in, was the Famicom Detective Club Duology. Again, gives me Ace Attorney vibes, even though this came like 20 years before that almost, or probably more like 15 years before Ace Attorney. It certainly looks a lot more horrific, like a lot more Resident Evil than Ace Attorney, but it looks like it could be fun. I'm going to be interested in picking those up. It looks like there's a physical Japanese version, so if that works in English, that'd be great. Just saying, Nintendo, I'd like to have my cartridge of it rather than having to download them separately. Just saying. Another completely out of nowhere thing, and the second best thing in the Direct, or the second best game reveal of the whole presentation for me, was Miitopia. Now, this probably sounds like completely strange to everyone, but I love that 3DS game. For as flawed as it is, for as not like a great true RPG as it is, I think it's very fun. And I picked up the 3DS version on the last trip I went on, back in the day when you could do that in the year 2019, when Lex and I traveled off to the great state of Pennsylvania to visit some of my family over there. We went to one of the local game shops, and one of the games I picked up was I picked up Miitopia, and I picked up Luigi's Mansion on the 3DS. They're both the 3DS versions. And I expected to like Luigi's Mansion a lot more. Turns out, the one I really wanted to play was Miitopia, because it was a nice, simple JRPG with a lot of flaws, and I could talk about that some other time when I get the Switch version, because I really want to get to actually talking about Pyra and Mythra here. But I'm excited for it. That is, for not wanting to pick up the Wii U ports, I'm definitely willing to pick up this 3DS port day one, even though it's also $10 more than the 3DS version. But that leads me to the best reveal of the whole thing, which is Mario Golf Super Rush. That game looks awesome. And I mean, I already talked a little bit earlier in this about how I want to do more golf. I like playing golf in real life. So the Mario sport that I gravitated to first was not Mario Tennis, it was Mario Golf. And it's just a simple 3-click golf game, like a simple series of 3-click golf. You start, power, accuracy, 1, 2, 3. But the Super Rush portion of this is really the focus of Mario Golf Super Rush. Doesn't appear to be on like just standard stroke play. It looks like it's going to be on speed golf, which has been a mode in every single, at least for sure, console Mario Golf game. I'm not sure if the Game Boy Color game had it. I know the Game Boy Advance Mario Golf had speed golf. But in those, it was simply finish X number of holes as quickly as possible. Now, it's a race. You are golfing and racing and running to your ball and trying to be the first one to finish the holes again, but now you have you're running and you have power-ups and it looks fun. And I am very excited for it. And that will also likely be another day one purchase, unlike Mario Tennis Aces, because again, I like Mario Tennis, but I wasn't, first off, I just also wasn't really in a financial situation to get it on day one, and I didn't care about it as much as I would for Mario Golf. that's all the direct related reveals I want to talk about. So now I want to finally get to the reason that I'm actually doing this topic, which is talking about Pyra and Mythra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And my goodness, one of my goals in talking about this, or like in doing this today, was to be, I'm going to talk about this and at least try to release this before the character comes out. But, you know, Sakurai just could not let that happen because they came out yesterday and the presentation was yesterday. One day, I sure hope I can talk about Smash Brothers or a Smash Brothers related topic before it is out, before the actual product is out. But maybe that destiny is just not meant to be. So to actually react to the presentation, really I think the main thesis about it that I want to talk about is, you know, for being a pair of characters, because they're a 2-in-1 Zelda, Sheik, Samus, Zero Suit Samus from Melee and Brawl sort of deal. For being a pair of characters that I really wasn't, you know, like I really don't care for, because I have not played a Xenoblade game, or especially Xenoblade Chronicles 2, this was an awesome presentation. You know, I was excited at first to be like, we're back in Sakurai's house, and then he had to put a downer on it, because it's like, oh, the reason we're back here is because there's COVID-19 spiking in Japan, and we had to do a state of emergency, and it's like, oh, well, that sucks, and I hope it gets a lot better, because now I sure feel like a jerk for being excited about being back in Sakurai's house. But yeah, seriously, I hope things get a lot better in Japan. I'm sure if I looked at the numbers myself for how things are doing in Japan, I would be like, this isn't all that bad. But, you know, I have to take myself out of my American context where we have 330 million people in this country, and they probably have like a teeny tiny fraction of that on the island nation of Japan. So, actually getting into talking about the characters, though, the significance of having Pyra and Mythra in here is it's the same significance as there was with Min Min. Character from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was planned to be in the base version of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but the team just ran out of time. So this is essentially fulfilling that vision of now we have Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in Smash Bros., just like how we wanted to get ARMS in Smash Bros. And I think that's important. I think it's, you know, key. It's almost a way of taking something that was unearthed in beta and actually making it real, which I think is pretty neat. And like I said, probably the most interesting aspect of Pyra and Mythra as characters is exactly that. They're this 2-in-1 like character that you can switch, just like Zelda and Sheik, all the way down to the fact that you switch them out with down special, just like Zelda and Sheik in Melee and Brawl. And as far as the moveset is concerned, a lot like the last few fighters, I'm going to have a hard time breaking this down, not only because I've never played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but also because, you know, a lot of their main attacks are just kind of generic sword swings and just generic movements that you could have on any character. Like just, wow, I'm going to swing up for my up tilt. Well, so do a ton of other characters. But really the major two differences between Pyra and Mythra are that Mythra is fast, she's speedy, and Pyra is useful for power. But their other main differences come in their specials, and they actually both have unique final smashes as well. So I guess I just want to kind of touch on those for sure. So Pyra's neutral special is called the Flame Nova. And it's similar to Link's spin attack, and down to the point where it's like she literally spins around. And it's even so similar that it's like it causes more damage and does more like it hits the character more the longer you hold down the button. Or hold down the neutral special. Mythra, for comparison, has the Lightning Buster, which is... It's very similar to like Marth and Roy's neutral special, but in this case, it's a multi-slash. So kind of like, I think it's also similar to one of the Mii Sword Fighters neutral specials. Of course, you know, for the Mii, you actually get to choose what their specials are. So it's similar to a specific one of the neutral specials for the Mii Sword Fighter, but I cannot think of the name off the top of my head. as far as side special, Pyra has a move called the Blazing End, where it's kind of weird because the characters Pyra and Mythra are supposed to be like the spirit of the Aegis, which is the red sword in the game, but yet she gets to throw the Aegis forward, the red sword itself, and it just kind of spins in the air like Link's boomerang, but it stays in that spot until it returns after a set period of time. Of course, the problem with that Sakurai pointed out is that, let's say you're coming off of the stage and you use that to prevent your opponent from hitting you in midair. Now you can't recover because you can't recover without the sword. Mithra, for comparison, has the Photon Edge, which is similar to Sephiroth's Octaslash, but in this case it's 6 slashes rather than 8. She just kind of charges forward and cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. For the up special, Pyra has a move called the Prominence Revolt, which reminded me a lot of Incineroar's Cross Chop. She essentially slashes up and goes BAM! Down right afterward. Mithra is interesting, though, in that she has 2 up specials. I mean, they're really not 2 in practice, but they have 2 different names, and they have a slight difference depending on how long you hold the B button down. So she has the Ray of Punishment, which starts with an upward slash, just like Pyra does, but she shoots a large projectile down. And then otherwise, if you hold the button down longer, she uses Chroma Dust, which starts the same, but instead of shooting 1 big projectile down, she shoots down 5 smaller ones. It was also pointed out in the direct that those moves, or Mithra's ones, I should say, can be reflected, so that's something to take into account when you're using the move. I haven't had that happen to me yet, because, like I said, since she came out yesterday, I've already had the opportunity to play these characters, just like with Sephiroth and with Steve, and, come on, Sakurai, this is the one time that I was hoping that the release date would not be the day of the presentation, and he had to do it on that day. I'm not going to cover the down special because we already talked about it. It's literally switching them out. But the most interesting piece of their moveset left are the final smashes. So Pyra uses Burning Sword, and both of these start the same for Pyra and Mythra, where they summon Rex, which is, I believe they called it their driver, is the term for it in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. He is their driver. He comes out, they slash, and in Pyra's case for Burning Sword, they create a giant fire pillar, not too dissimilar from Ken's final smash. Whereas for Mythra, she also does a similar slash, but she then rains down beams of light. It reminds me of, speaking again of the Mii Sword Fighter, their final smash is just a bunch of slashes, and it just sends out a giant wave of energy beams, and Mithra's final smash essentially does that, but it rains down rather than going forward horizontally from the Mii. And again, with a lot of these, as Sakurai pointed out, not only are Mithra's moves faster than Pyra's, and Pyra's moves are stronger, for Mythra they're also a lot weaker, and the same holds true for the final smash. So you need to be strategic with who or which character you're using. I mean, it could just be as simple as, I prefer heavier, powerful characters, so I'll play Pyra. I prefer faster, lighter characters, so I'll play Mythra. Or you could do it the way that I've played them so far, which is, and I thought about Min Min with this as well, because one of the recommendations for playing Min Min from her presentation was, maybe you want to start, because you can't change the right arm. The right arm is always the dragon. But maybe for the left arm, you want to start matches, or just whenever your opponent or opponents are at low percentages, you want to use the Ram, but then when they get to high percentages, you want to switch that out for the Megawatt, which is a heavy slow arm. I think a similar idea would be useful for Pyra and Mythra. I've been starting as Mythra, trying whenever they get to my opponent gets to higher percentages to be Pyra, but sometimes it just works out where you KO them still as Mythra. And again, a similar idea holds here with the final smash, because the Burning Sword is intended for KOs, the Sacred Arrow is really intended for inflicting a lot of damage. Honestly, the stage to me is one of the most boring things about this Challenger Pack. Their stage is the Cloud Sea of All Rest, which, I mean, aside from like the background Xenoblade 2 characters and locations, it's really not all that exciting to me. But the stage itself is the character Azurda, who Rex calls Gramps. He's the Titan that Rex lives on. Full disclosure, I just generically wrote Titan in here, and then I did a little more research as I was writing this yesterday, and I found out that they're actually called Titans, so that was a great coincidence. But really, the only like interesting like stage aspect of it is about this stage is that Gramps, so his head is the right side of the stage, and he'll move his head into the background or into the foreground if there's something that's going by that's interesting, like one of those cameos in the background. So you have to be strategic, especially if you're off stage, to be like, oh man, I might not get back onto the stage because, I was planning on having Gramps here for me to jump onto, but now he's off looking into the background, and so now I can only jump all the way over here. So I'm screwed. But other than that, it's almost just a flat stage, so really not all that exciting. I'm honestly a little disappointed in the stage. I'm still going to play it if it ever comes up. It's not a horrible stage, but I don't find it especially exciting. For the Mii Fighter costumes, so there's only 4 for this fighter, for this challenger pack, which I find a little interesting. That's lower than normal, and similar to how I was just talking about the Titans, and I found out that they're actually called Titans in-game. I was writing this yesterday, preparing to release this today, and I wrote a certain phrase, and then I watched the Maximilian Dude reaction to Pyra and Mythra last night, and when it comes to the Mii Fighter costumes, he literally says what I wrote down, which is, man, this is a Capcom smorgasbord of costumes, because all of the costumes for this pack are for Capcom characters. There were 3 Monster Hunter costumes, well, technically 2 costumes. One is a Rathalos outfit and helmet, and the other was just a generic monster, like hunter type. And then there's just the feline hat. But the other series that got represented from Capcom was Ghosts and Goblins for Arthur, because he's the hero, and he's a knight, so he would use swords. It's still only really... But a theme, actually, I should point out, that continues with the Mii Fighter costumes that's a little disappointing, is that they are disappointing, because at least 2, if not 3 of these, again, are repeats from Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U. Both for sure, at least the Rathalos outfit. I'm pretty confident the Monster Hunter outfits, though, are just repeats from Smash 4. And I'm going to be honest, I'm getting a little sick of these repeats that have just been in the game to begin with. Because what was the point of me buying the new game if the DLC for the new game was going to be the same as the DLC for the old game? Nintendo and Sakurai. Just saying here. It's getting a little old. Last thing I want to talk about with this, now that, this segment has been about 45 minutes, just like the last Smash segment, is I want to go over some of the Sakurai idiosyncrasy moments. Just things that come up in it that are just fun things you learn about Masahiro Sakurai himself, just from him talking in the video. And he reminded us that aside from this trailer with Pyra and Mythra, he's written all the trailers. So every single Smash reveal you've seen so far, starting with Mega Man and Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U, all the way up to Sephiroth just now, that's Sakurai's writing. And apparently the man really knows how to make a hype-filled trailer. For being a game developer who doesn't make film, he makes some pretty darn good trailers. With feedback, I'm sure, of course, to improve on his original vision. But in this case, it was all Monolith Soft who did the Pyra and Mythra trailer in the Nintendo Direct. So hats off to them. Apparently, another idiosyncrasy of his that we learned is that he purchases a figure of each character that is in or will be in Smash Brothers to help the team understand their design, which I swear is such a Sakurai thing to do. To go that, just to do that little extra mile sort of thing, to be like, okay, we're gonna add Mario to the game, And I would sure hope that there's a model of Mario lying around that we could use. No. We're not going to use that. I'm going to get a figure of Mario, and you in the modeling team are going to look at this and make sure you know exactly how to make him look in the game. That is hilarious. He even showed off his little collection of figures that he has. He has like speaking of Mario, like 3 or 4 Marios. You got to see like the Dragon Quest 11 and the Dragon Quest 3 hero. There's Terry Bogard. Obviously, there was Cloud in there. And he teased us so much because he's like, I really can't be in my office, but just FYI, in my office, there's a drawer that has figures of the future characters because I know who they are. So, overall, great presentation. Again, for being a character or pair of characters that I really didn't care for the announcement or just to have be added into Smash, I was really excited by that presentation. So that should cover everything regarding Smash Brothers, regarding the Nintendo Direct. So I think it's about high time that we move into topic number 2.